Morning. It's so sweet. It's just, it's so sweet that you're all there on the screen. Hi, Susan Spencer. Hi, Amy. Hi, I'm gonna go to gallery view. And Christine and Margot, Amy and Sue Ann and everybody here and the whole world's here. I thought I would just the statement I made when we opened the Zendo. I mean, opens the Buddha eyes. Isn't that a cool ritual? You just and then if you close Zendo, you close their eyes. And it says right here, the Dharma eye is always open. It's like the koan about Avalokiteshvara is the entire body is hands and eyes. The eye that sees and knows, in Thich Nhat Hanh's language, interconnection, is always open. Just in case you haven't noticed, we kind of forget sometimes. we human beings have human eyes and Dharma eyes. Thich Nhat Hanh would say relative. We see with the eyes of the relative, which is in duality. We compare one thing to the other. That's how we see and know. And if we don't cultivate Dharma eye, the realm that sees in the ultimate dimension, we will just continue to be tossed and turned around in this crazy world. We will suffer. And that's okay because that's it too. But if we can, and as we wake up, well, one, it's nice as a human being to suffer a little less. And two, we're more available to ourselves and to everybody with kindness and compassion. So it's why in this practice period, there's a question of, so what is your deepest heart's desire? Because if you don't know, I mean, the language could change. I mean, it's the Bodhisattva now. What is your language? How is it expressed through you in this time? If you don't know what the through line is, you will forget. You will forget anyway. To have the ground to come back to. That's what's so beautiful about Zazen posture. That's what's so beautiful about a day of ritual and silence and being together this way, is it just affirms. When it's time to bow, we all just bow together. And then you can watch if you're having little arguments with yourself about bowing, or the person next to you, or what happened in the car on the way here, or your partner at home, or just practice just this moment, just bow with your whole heart. It's like, I don't know how to do this. Just bow. It'll break your heart. It'll also bring you joy. The Dharma eye is always open. Wheel of causation turns and turns. Life turns and turns. 100 million thousand causes and conditions are bringing us, each one of us, exclusively this moment across time and space. And we're all going, no, thank you very much, but I'd rather have another moment. I mean, there is some humor in this. But if we really pay attention, the Buddha eye is free and tender, sharing its warmth with everyone, everywhere. The Buddha heart is free and tender, sharing its warmth with everyone, everywhere. That's what I want. think that's what we all want. It's what a true person. I'm so excited. I'm going to read you some from Thich Nhat Hanh. And I actually, he talks about being a true person, a true human being. He brings forward where that phrase came from. Often I think I made things up because I forgot, or I heard it. Maybe you do the same thing. And it was like, here it is. So we'll get to that. May all beings take our stand here in this Bodhi Mandala seat of awakening and passion and offer our hearts to the world. Just this place, just this moment. That's why it's important if we can pull this off and we can pay the rent, and I'm just trusting in Buddha, to have some place that's dedicated, that we come back to over and over again, that cultivates just this place. I walk in this door. You walk in the door, you might want to practice. You just bow. You bow to the altar. Gretchen said when we first came in, she said, I think the altar should be over there. So when you walk in the door, the first thing you see is the altar. You just come in and you just bow because you're bowing to yourself. It's like, oh, here I am. I'm here to remember with everybody here and with everybody on screen and with all of your altars at home, which you all have, I assume, I trust. And then it's nice, like, notice my body. I love doing these little things. Well, my body loves it. My mind has all kinds of arguments with things, but my body is it's well trained, is when I walk from the space, like, when you come from the bathroom, you can just do like a little shoe bow when you enter the space again. It's like, oh, I not that the bathroom's not, but it's like, oh, I'm re-entering with everyone. And when you walk from the space from the dining room, so before you walk into this consecrated space, every place is consecrated, but I think you get it, is you just do a little bow before you come in. It just helps you come to presence. Okay, I just want to say all those things. We've been following the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. So grateful during this time to be bringing forward Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings. This particular one, which I think we'll do today and follow up some next week as we come to the close of this informal practice period, was put together by, he had a stroke, I think, in 2014. And this was Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet was, I think, compiled by his students. Thich Nhat Hanh, I think, like any teacher, Norman Fisher said that different teachers pick up different pieces of the Dharma. You go in through, every teacher goes in through a different Dharma gate. And it's all the same thing. It's just different expressions. And Thich Nhat Hanh has a particular way of expressing himself. And a lot of his teachings, he just repeated over and over and over again, because it's the end. What else do you have to say? I mean, I often feel that way. It's like, well, okay, I'm just going to come here. I'm going to say the same thing all over again, but I'll hear it differently. You'll hear it differently. And maybe I'll say it a little differently. And so what I'm going to bring forward here, I found in other places. He seems the Heart Sutra, the Diamond Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, and the Lotus Sutra are his favorites, it seems to, and the loving kindness sutra. Well, there's other ones actually, but those are the ones I love. So those are the ones I noticed that he loves. Whoops. Okay. So we're going to talk about that today, because Thich Nhat Hanh loves these things and I do too. And I'm trusting that you do too. We're going to start with spring thunder. Many of us are barely awake. We're living in the world, but we really can't see it. It's as though we're sleepwalking. To wake up, first of all, is to wake up to the beauty of the earth. You wake up to the fact that you have a body, and that your body is made of the earth and the sun and stars. You wake up to the fact that the sky is beautiful and that our planet is a jewel of the cosmos. You have an opportunity to be a child of the earth and to make steps on this extraordinary planet. Second, you can wake up to just one thing. To wake up means to wake up to the suffering of the world. Both, not either or, both, the beauty and the suffering. You wake up to the fact that the earth is in danger and living species are in danger. It's one of the good things about times like right now is you can't ignore their suffering. It's always here in one form or another, but war and conflict is about as suffering as you can get. You want to find ways to bring relief, healing, and transformation. This requires a tremendous source of energy. If you have a strong desire in you, what is your deepest heart's desire? You have to know. Keep plumbing it. Keep asking. Which is a mind of love. That is the kind of energy that will help you do these two things. Wake up to the beauties of the planet to heal yourself, and wake up to the suffering of the world and try. Okay, that's it. I mean, really. If you have that source of strength in you, if you have that mind of love, you are what is called, well, he calls it a Buddha in action. I would call it a bodhisattva, which he would call it too, but that's what a bodhisattva is. A bodhisattva stands in this ground and then allows love to come through our actions of body, speech, and mind. We some time ago, I can't remember when, practice period a few years ago, I don't even know what time are we in? What year is this? What month? I mean, it's just, it was sometime back then, maybe we'll have a PP, pre-pandemic, or we studied the Diamond Sutra. And I hope Trust will do that again. It's a really beautiful sutra. And it has, well, here, the Diamond Sutra is one of the most ancient and powerful texts in Zen. It's part of the Prajnaparamita Sutras. It originated in Northeast India in between the 2nd and 5th centuries. There's a 9th century scroll printed on paper of mulberry bark and hemp found in the Dongshuan Caves, which is on the old Silk Road in Western China. I actually saw it. There was an exhibit on the Dongshuan Caves, and it was there. I brought home a little printout of it, and I was looking for it this morning. I couldn't find it, and it's not on hemp bark, but it's like, this is it's so beautiful how ancient these teachings are that have been passed to us, and that people have been studying them and practicing forever. And now it's like, okay, now it's look at us. We just look like ordinary Americans, or whatever we think we are, extraordinary, less than, whatever. It's up to us. It's like, wow, okay. It's the world's oldest dated printed book. So I wanted to bring forward Thich Nhat Hanh and why try to improve on Thich Nhat Hanh? He calls this the diamond breakthrough. In the Diamond Sutra, oh, wait a minute, maybe there was something else here. Nope, that's it. Okay, Diamond Sutra. In the Diamond Sutra, the meditator, i.e. you, me, anybody who sits down and seriously studies body, heart, and mind, enters deep silence, is urged to throw away, to release 4 notions. 4. That's all. We can do this, surely, right? In order to understand our own true nature and the true nature of reality. You want to wake up? Just throw these 4 things away. You want to know what they are? It makes me laugh. I'm sorry. The notion of a self, throw it away. The notion of a human being, throw it away. The notion of living beings, throw it away. And the notion of lifespan, throw it away. Are we enlightened? In the sutra, it says that if you're still caught in notions, you are not yet free and you cannot be a real bodhisattva. An awakened being helping leave suffering in the world. Now, this is what got my attention, is because basically I always had this feeling is, I want to be a bodhisattva. I don't know what that is, but I want to be a bodhisattva. And then you start reading these Buddha sutras and the Heart Sutra and Avalokiteshvara, and they all say that what a bodhisattva understands is emptiness. A bodhisattva is moment after moment letting go of an idea of a self, a human being, living beings, and a lifespan. It's like I thought, I guess this is continuous practice. This is forever. If you can break through these ideas, you'll have the insight, understanding, and freedom you need to help save the planet and all beings. So how much do you care? I mean, really? You can keep trying to do what you're doing is self bumping up against other selves, and you'll continue to do that and thinking there's a lifespan and you're going to live and die, and all those things are true. And it's only part. Keep looking deeper. That's what we're doing today. In my tradition, Thich Nhat Hanh says, the lineage of 9th century Zen master Lingji, he said, my aim is not to give you knowledge. My aim is to help you break free from your views. What are you holding on to? Understanding should not only be empty of knowledge, but deep insight. Insight, not the outcome of me. Insight is a direct, intuitive vision that you get from strong concentration. Suzuki Roshi talks about, I think he talks about it in the Sesshin chapter, and maybe it's, I don't know which one of his books it's in, but he talks about Zazen body, Zazen heart, mind is intuitive body. Zazen body is intuitive body. It's like, how can intuitively respond forward the appropriate response in each moment, unless the entire body is hands and eyes and alive. And the great thing is that when we respond from karmic reactivity, which you may from time to time, that was a joke. You study that because that's it. It's like, where else and how else are you going to wake up? You're going to come up against yourself or a like or a dislike. It's like, oh, thank you, Buddha. Okay. It's not a product of thinking. You can't figure this out in your mind. It is deep intuition. And if it is a real thought, if it is a real insight, something opens. Of course, the minute you think you have it, it turns into something else. And then that'll set the other. It will have the power to free from your anger, your fear, and your suffering. And simultaneously the world. That's what's so amazing about these teachings. He says, you are more than you think. The first notion you must throw is the notion of a self. This is a very deep-rooted belief in every human being, that there is a self separated from the rest of the world, that we're ourselves, everyone and everything else, including the earth, is not us. Let's be really honest about this repeatedly, how much we solidify into self and other and othering. I mean, even in the best of circumstances, when we're loving somebody, we think we're loving somebody else out there, but then they do something to disappoint us, or we disappoint them, or it was all going really well. But then you take somebody who really triggers you, and then you've got war. You've got people trying chemical weapons. In fact, there is no one self there. There is thinking, there is reflection. A better statement would be, I am. It's closer to truth in the light of interconnectedness, interbeing. You have to keep reminding the self of this. We go back to our default thinking and conditioning. Guaranteed. Dogen says a Buddha is somebody that knows that they're deluded. If you don't know that you're deluded and this is going to be your default position, then we're just going to keep believing it. But every time we believe it and start to harden or project or take a breath over and over. If father and son, mother and daughter have the insight of no self, they can look at each other in the light of interbeing, and there'd be no more problems. We inter-are. I am like this because you are like that. That's all. The notion of a separate self is a tunnel that you keep going into. Can you feel what the tunnel feels like? Can you feel what it feels like when it starts getting small? Because that's how it feels. It feels dark. And when you do Tonglen, it's described as like dark and heavy. Like, what's it feel like in your body and mind? What's anger feel like? What's fear feel like? I mean, really study it for the sake of everybody's sake. When you practice meditation, you can see that there is breathing, but no breather. It can be found anywhere. Is it today? Who is it who's breathing? Are you saying, okay, body, please breathe? That was a good in-breath. Just you surrender to breath. There's something going on here that's bigger than what we think. There's a sitting, but no sitter can be found anywhere. Who is it who's standing up and sitting down? We really study this. Is it me? Well, it is me. And I did come here and I did make this choice. But when I really surrender to the schedule, when I really surrender to don't know, when I really drop body and mind, that's why these forms are so beautiful. The bell rings, you sit down. The bell rings, you stand up. It's like it takes you beyond you. And then, because everybody else in the room is doing it, there's this beautiful mutuality, sitting down and standing up. And you have a sense of what it would be if you keep letting go over and over and over. When you see that, the tunnel will vanish and there will be a lot of space and a lot of freedom. Zazen body is not just sitting Zazen. It's a Zazen life that your true human being knows. Comes back to, bows to, grieves and suffers when we lose it. And we fall down and get back up again. Who am I? I am made of non-elements, and when these elements come together, they produce me. What brought you to this moment? How many causes and conditions brought you to this moment that you could even begin to imagine just today? But then you go to ancestors, and then you go to why in the world are you practicing Zen when you could be practicing something else? And then you think, what about the sun and the stars and the moon? And then we just make it, we go in this little tunnel. Tunnels are great. 100 million thousand causes and conditions created the tunnel too. Know that you do not have a separate existence. This is right view. Seeing reality in this way, you are no longer lonely because you are the cosmos. Of course we get lonely. remember reading something by Pema Chodron years ago, and she took a loan and she did all one. That we are one and particular, and we are all. And we are all human beings and deluded, and we are completely one. It's like if you're feeling alone, follow it all the way through. With great tenderness, with great love, with and for all beings. Okay, now that we've dropped the self, we got that one, right? Well, just when you thought you had it, here's some more for you. The second notion of the Diamond Sutra tells us to throw away the notion of human being. I am a human being. You are a human being. Don't look deeply. We see that humans are made only of non-human elements, including plants, animals, and minerals. Not only historically, but in this very moment, we continue to interweave all the non-human elements within us and around us. It's very clear, without minerals, plants, and animals, how can there be human beings? What did you have for breakfast today? All those supplements you take, where do you think that came from? Your cell phone. How many minerals or whatever is in the cell phone, and how is that being mined out of the earth, and whatever those elements were, is how long did it take to form those, for goodness sakes? I mean, you can just take, you could take any one of these things and pick it up and just end up with nothing but awe and wonder. If you remove or return all these elements, a human being cannot exist anymore. And yet we seek to protect and defend ourselves by destroying our non-elements, including other species. Humans are made only of non-human elements. Humans are made of all of our ancestors. I love, and he'll sort of talk about this sometimes, Dan, is when you really deeply immerse yourself in these teachings, is the ancestors aren't back there anymore. They're right here teaching you. And you're teaching them. And there's this amazing conversation, intuitive, going on across time and space that's completely alive. And I don't care what tradition you're in, anybody who penetrates deep tradition. Christianity sings along, Judaism, Islam, shamanism. You follow any of these all the way through. There's no place to stop. The mountains, the rivers, the roads, the planet are all made of non-mountains, non-river, non-roads, non-planet elements. And when we can say that, we are free. I hope today really to hear this amazing building. Pine that was made out of an old Girl Scout camp. Campfire. They took it apart to make this building, but then where did the pine come from, and who grew the pine, and who cut it down, and what are the causes and the conditions of any of it? And now here we're sitting in the International Association of Gay Square Dance Clubs and Redwood Rainbows, and it's go try to figure any of this out. Okay, third. Life has no limits. The third notion we have to break is the notion of living beings. Many of us are caught in the distance between sentient or inanimate beings and non-sentient or inanimate matter. Just think, I mean, it's really awful that human beings are being bombed and killed. But I saw in the news last night the size of the crater that the bomb made in the earth. You know, it's like you really listen, you can just hear everything crying out. Avalokiteshvara hears the cries and the sounds of the world. Science of evolution tells us we have not only human and animal ancestors, but also mineral ancestors. To separate out living beings from the inanimate world and make a divide between them is incorrect. We are made of non-sentient elements. Speck of dust. Don't call specks of dust. The elementary particle, the work. They are us and we are them. Please. Let's walk and breathe today for the dust particles and for the quarks. We need to transcend the notion of body and mind, matter and spirit, consciousness and material world. They are a big obstacle. Please, the whole world is living and alive. And if we do that, our attitude toward the planet will change towards other human beings, what we think is other. How we plant our foot on the earth, how we walk today, how we receive the food we eat at lunch. We'll be able to walk with steps of love and respect on the earth, and we'll realize our great capacity to help, because helping is so far beyond helping. You may believe only this body, but you are much more than this body. To meditate is to see that you are also over there and there and there and everywhere. Here's your koan for today. Spend the day meditating. And you'll notice that you probably spend most of it hang around in your own head. Being angry or sad or liking or disliking. Well, liking, disliking, or neutral, that's what thoughts are. There might be moments where you just dissolve at the end of the exhale and you breathe in, and it's boundless. And silence. And you realize it's always just this. And then you'll come crashing back in. But you notice that, you take a breath and you bow. You just say, oh, this is what human beings do. This is our conditioning. This is our ancient twisted karma. Fall down, get up. Fall on the ground, get up by the ground. Down on the ground, get up by the sky. Sometimes, here it is. Had to work to get here. Sometimes Zen masters have to make up new words, especially when old words become sick or lose their meaning. Dogen did that all the time. It's one of the reasons Dogen is so frustrating. It's also one of the reasons poetry can be frustrating, is to play with language and concepts. I used to feel with Dogen a lot. It's like, would you just say what you mean? It's like, yeah, well, then you start to realize it's not saying what is true, it's not linear. And Dogen will give you one thing and then completely flip it and tell you the exact opposite thing and then turn it upside down. So try to do that with yourself. The minute you think you got something you really think you believe in, you could jump over and maybe step outside of it and give yourself the exact opposite perspective, or whatever you think is the opposite. And then you could look at it from down on the ground and look up at it. And then you could go up in the sky and look down at it. And maybe at that point, it will start to open up a little bit. It will become more sad and more funny. You won't take yourself quite so seriously. Okay. One of the terms coined by the 9th century Linji is the phrase true person, true human being. In Chinese, Chanya, oh, I can't pronounce in China, it's not just, it's a kanji. And then he says it in Vietnamese. Chan Nhan. These two words are very important. He said we need to live and practice mindfulness in such a way that we reveal our true person, which cannot be found in space or time. It has no coordinates. Like an electron in physics, it cannot be grasped. Sitting here in this moment, we realize the planet is there with her mountains, rivers, and skies, and we interbe with all these elements. The clouds are there in the sky, but they are also us. And the light of the sun is shining up there, but it's also shining in us. Your true person is a person of wonders. I would say close to home. Those of us who are sitting here, what we're doing here is affecting the town of Sebastopol. And what's happening in Sebastopol in California is informing and turning us. And because we're together on Zoom, and some of you are in New Mexico, and some of you are in different places, we are all turning and being turned in a wheel of living and dying that is so far. It's just, in the end, it's just like wonder. If you're bored, you're not paying attention. But that's really different than being excited all the time. Okay, now we're to the fourth one. There's going to be a test on this. The fourth notion the Diamond Sutra teaches us to remove is the idea of a lifespan. We believe that there is a moment in time in which we are born, right? Birthdays. And there's another moment in which we die. And we think we only exist between these 2 points, which is where fear comes from, right? I mean, if you really look at it, is I'm going to cease to exist, or the people I love are going to cease to exist. This is to be caught in the idea of a lifespan. It's not like this isn't going to happen. I don't know if you saw, there was an article in the New York Times yesterday about the DSM-3, the diagnostic manual came up with a definition of what's unhealthy grief. And that if you are still experiencing acute grief after a year, it's abnormal grief. I just think, I mean, of course, pay attention if there's acute suffering. I mean, of course. But to think that grief has a timeline, I feel like I'm here practicing because it took me 30 years to even realize I was grieving, for goodness sakes. It kind of makes me cry. Anyway, we think we are only on this earth for a very short moment. We have the impression that we came from the realm of non-being into being, and after staying in the realm of being for perhaps 100 years, maybe if you're lucky, we'll pass back into the realm of non-being again. Observation tells us it's impossible to pass from something into nothing, to go from someone to no one. Pay attention today. There is only continued manifestation in different forms. Before we were born, we were already here, and after we die, we will continue to be here. Nothing can pass from the realm of being into the realm of non-being. Ellen's a gardener. We all know. Pay attention. The Diamond Sutra is a kind of prison to help us reimagine who we are. It's a radical way to broaden our horizon about what life is and isn't, and about the true nature of the planet and all the people living here who we'd like to protect. It gives us a chance to step back from politics, policies, and news, and to check our perspective on reality and the very foundation of how we perceive the world. Please, if you're suffering, if the news is making you suffer, the news is touching your suffering, please keep taking a deep breath with and for the whole world. Touch the suffering and breathe out. And touch boundless, endless time and space and love. And keep coming back to what is your deepest heart's desire, and then manifest it through the smallest things, each moment. The present moment and eternity happen at the same time. They happen at the same time. That's the thing that to me more and more feels mind-blowing. Is it's not like it's not like there's the present moment and then there's eternity. I mean, that's the only way we can kind of rock it. It's simultaneous. It's like if that doesn't make your brain, if it doesn't stop, it's simultaneous. There's nothing but this, and this is everything, and it's just this. The insights of the Diamond Sutra show us that life is much more than we think. It is possible to train ourselves. We are training ourselves. You have to train yourself. You remember hearing someplace, it seems like this was around a few years ago, of that in a disaster, it's like, maybe it was like around 9/11, is that if you haven't trained yourself to run towards the fire, you're not going to run towards where help is needed. I mean, if you don't train yourself for when something, for just saying to somebody, Richard Baker, who was my first Buddhist teacher, said, everybody's nice till they're pushed into a corner. It's always stayed with me. Part of it's because he got pushed into a corner. He's still trying to find his way out. And I'm saying that with compassion because I get pushed. I got plenty of corners. So if you don't study the corners of your own heart and mind over and over with gratitude, because if you think you've done it, something maybe, unfortunately, will come along and push you hard in a place that you never got pushed before, and then you'll be surprised and you'll think, I don't know, what you should probably blame yourself, blame somebody else. It's like, study subtly, kindly. What happens when you get pushed, when you don't like it, or you didn't get what you don't want? Or when you think you're over here, other person over, which is, God, I mean, passion, please. But study what it feels like, how we close down and how we separate from the whole world. And then we're going to miss the whole world. Insights of the Diamond Sutra show us that life is much more than we think. It is possible to train ourselves to see that in every moment we participate in the future of the earth and the well-being of everyone everywhere, and that everything we do today can contribute to the planet's health and vitality and to peace on earth. I like Thich Nhat Hanh's 4 Bodhisattva vows. I like the way he says them. However innumerable beings are, I vow to meet them with kindness and interest. There is suffering, first noble truth. We believe in a self, a human being, a living being, a lifespan. And then we go round and round and round. Who are you really? Kindness and interest. We're just thinking, oh, I think I'll be kind today. But often I think maybe we're putting our kindness on somebody else and not being interested in who that other else is, or actually who we are, because kindness can be as much of a concept as anything else. However inexhaustible the states of suffering are, I vow to touch them with patience and love. The illusions are inexhaustible, vow to end them. All my ancient twisted karma from beginningless greed, hate, and delusion, born through body, speech, and mind, I now fully avow. I fully accept. I take responsibility. I know the mystery of it, beginningless, and be with it with patience and love. I was in the traditional Buddhist teachings. Patience is the antidote to anger. Study your anger. Study anger. Don't make it just your own, but start with your own. And what is this patience that doesn't just like tap it down and say, don't express yourself? I vow to touch suffering with patience and love so it can open and reveal itself. I wrote this down. We no longer have luxury of indulging our own confusion and reactivity out of love. Notice when you're indulging your own confusion and reactivity. I do it a lot. I'm willing to confess. Study it. 3, however immeasurable the dharmas are, I vow to explore them deeply. There is freedom and awakening here. In each moment, dharma gates are boundless. Let life touch you, intimate, so close, you're not even there anymore. Just drop body and mind, fully present, deep listening, deep looking. Diamond Sutra eyes. And Earth Bodhisattva vet. However incomparable the mystery of interbeing, however incomparable the mystery of interbeing. However deeply you look and you think you can't get it, or you had it and you forgot it, or you're never going to get this, so whatever, I'll just go back to my own position because it's way safer over here and I don't want to get hurt. I don't know about you. I don't want to get hurt. Want to get hurt? I've been hurt. You've been hurt. Take a breath. That's what bodhisattvas say and do. I vow to surrender to it freely. Here I am. Here you are. We found practice. We found each other. We're sitting in this place. The Dharma eye is always open. Constant unfolding of awareness in an inconceivable mystery of alive. Wonder. Cultivate wonder today. Or let wonder touch you today. How can we just sitting in this room, seeing it's one of the things, it's like I've been experiencing it at home. I've gotten to experience the light change in my home during the pandemic in a way I never knew before. It's like it blows me away. And then the different seasons, spring. This is the weekend of the beginning of spring. And cherry blossom, it's like, where did they go and where did they come from? And what is, it's like out of a bare branch. It's like, yay. But I was just noticing, watching the changing light on the floor in here, coming in through the window. It's like, just take one thing. Stop. Study the self. It's like, you got born? What does that mean? You're going to die? What does that mean? Where did all those people go? Where are we all going? What are we truly doing here? Okay, I'm going to end. And I'm going to say Thich Nhat Hanh's love meditation. He calls it a love meditation. May I be peaceful and light in my body and my mind. May I be safe and free from accidents. May I be free from anger, unwholesome states of mind, fear, and worries. May I know how to look at myself with the eyes of understanding and compassion. May I be able to recognize and touch seeds of joy and happiness in me. May I learn how to nourish myself with joy each day. May I be able to live fresh, solid, and free. May I not fall into a state of indifference or be caught in the extremes of attachment or aversion. May we all be peaceful and light in our bodies. Practice today. Drop body and mind. May you be free from accidents. I'm sorry. I have this bad cartoon mind. I'm not even gonna, may we all be free from accidents. I had this flashing of all the awful things. We're gonna practice with our anger for the whole world. May the whole world be free. Wake up in unwholesome states of mind, fear and worry. Just start with knowing, just identify it. Look at yourself with eyes of understanding and compassion so that we can look at the whole world and everybody that way. Touch the seeds of joy and happiness. Really give yourself a wonder today so you can walk fresh and solid on the earth, not floating above it, and free. Free to experience whatever Buddha gives you today. And may we all not fall into states of indifference. Wake up. Sorry, I looked over. So in the corner, I wasn't going to name. I've been watching you all waking up and going to sleep. And I said, wake up, and she went. Notice when we're caught in extremes of attachment and aversion. If you think you're not paying attention. I mean, you're not, you are. So there you go. Okay. For some reason, I really felt like I needed and wanted to say all of this. Really, thank you. These teachings are so deep and incomprehensible. And it's really, really so. I'm going to stop. But mindfulness, I think, has been packaged often in our time to not include the wonder of this. Maybe it does. I hope it does. But Thich Nhat Hanh and the teachings are just so boundless and limitless and full of mystery. I just had a little more time during this sitting, so I wanted to, I don't know. I want us all, oh God, please, in this time, may we all keep waking up together. The world couldn't ask more clearly. Please, Bodhisattvas, let's all just keep waking up together. So I'm going to, we're going to get up and do some 3 bows. And then there's some outside walking meditation, which we've gone over